Famed, of course, for my unique red skin and unparalleled skills as a general of the House of War, I, the Red Prince, was raised within the vast palaces of the fabled Forbidden City. I was destined to become the next emperor. But my ambitions suffered a bit of a setback when I fell from grace for cavorting with demons. Now, I'm exiled and hunted by assassins. But I assure you, I remain undaunted and as determined as ever to claim my rightful throne.
I used to be a slave, kept under the thumb of the master, the bastard that made me hunt down my own kin. How did he do that, you ask? With the living scar you see on my cheek, this horror that takes no more than a song sung by Master Dearest to control my very thoughts. But now the tables have turned. I broke my shackles, and when I finally find him, I will make the Master sing a very different kind of song.
Just thinking about someone I used to know. My cousin. The Queen, in fact. A tyrant. I tried to stop her, but things don't always go according to plan. She cast me out to a forgotten island, and made short work of my allies, too. Lucky for me, I was able to commandeer a ship, and began a new life for myself, out on the high seas. Aye, but I hear that the Queen is at it again. And there's something darker behind her madcap schemes this time. If I don't stop her, I don't know who will.
Oh, don't stare. How would you look after eons in some ghastly crypt? Your people are rather prone to death. Mine are not. Yet when I emerged from my completely unjustified imprisonment, I found them gone. Our culture forgotten. Any trace of the world I knew all but obliterated. I must even hide my true face beneath an ever-shifting mask for fear you savages will attack me. That is how I wander this strange world. Trying to uncover the truth about a history you primitive people never even knew existed.
Once I was a crusader for the Divine Order. I pledged my life to Lucian the Divine. But the war changed everything. He sent me to save the elves I grew up amongst. I arrived too late. Lucian ordered the use of death fog against the Black Ring, annihilating everyone I once knew in the process. Now I'm a mercenary killer, one of the infamous Lone Wolves. And my next target is none other than Lucian's own son.
All my life, I've been a performer, a musician, beloved and celebrated by all. But I have a secret. I'm also a playground for sprites and spirits and worse. The voice that rings inside me now is darker than any that came before. Almost caused a bunch of my fans to rip each other to pieces. But you can trust me. I've got this under control. Step 1, find out who or what is trying to take control of my mind. Step 2, make it sorry it ever tried.
It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared, and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
What a way to wake. Wooden boards and iron shackles. The Divine Order's hospitality leaves much to be desired indeed.
Oh, my, these smelling salts are strong stuff. My, these smelling salts are strong stuff.
No marks, no indications of a struggle. This is a rare kind of magic. I'll need to write to headquarters right away. Who? Did the murderer take him into this room? Or was he already here?
Oh, everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really.
No known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to spending time with the
Now, where did I leave my calipers?
no lesions, no trauma. He was bled by magic. No marks, no indications of a struggle.
What a well of knowledge this tome is. Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
A subpar cranium, that? Human, no wonder.
My, these smelling salts are strong stuff.
The indignity. I'm supposed to send people down to the dungeons, not the other way round.
Ah,
you're up.
Did the murderer
Yes.
take him into this
Looks
room?
like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. There. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those source spells of yours? See what happens. Oh, do go on. I won't hold it against you. Promise. My, aren't we a meek little lamb? Perhaps I needn't have collared you at all, though it does look dull. So let's just leave it on, shall we? Because, to answer your question, what the collar does is this. It makes you unable to cast sword. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
That can't be natural.
Why? Because we're at sea, of course, and have been for several days.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits. And if you're a particularly good boy, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good. Oh, everything's spick and span. Nothing left to do, really.
Good gods! There's been a murder here!
Behind the Magister, a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them.
Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. It's a small ship. His name was Finn. Oddball. Looked to me like he saw something he wished he hadn't before he came here. We'll find out who did it, one way or another.
No marks, no indications.
A
of
young
struggle.
Magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass.
Oh, everything's spick and span.
Nothing to see here.
Really?
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of,
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course. Not with that collar on, you aren't. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? Thanks. I just want to catch whoever did this before they hurt anyone. This is a rare kind of magic. I'll need to write to headquarters right away. But who? No lesions, no trauma. It was bled by magic. No marks, no indications of a struggle.
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a...
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like. Rolling dice? Deciding fates.
It was one of them. I know it.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no, but I can read the past in flesh. One of the perks of being an elf, you see. I'm quite good at it, too. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. As everyone lay sleeping, your hunger gnawed and gnawed at you until you could stand it no longer. Finding the cellar door ajar, instead of trying to escape, you snuck into the pantry like a common thief, only to find nothing but rather questionable turnips. There you stood as a magister walked in, still hungry, feeling a mighty fool. Of course it is. The truth's right there, skin deep. But don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell.
One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one.
Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear, anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Never thought you'd end up a prison guard, Vic.
Nice. That right. I always knew you'd turn out rotten.
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this tramp Ifan.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again. He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winks.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And now, you.
We used to know each other, more's the pity. I was his commander many, many, many moons ago. Isn't that right, Vic?
Standing far back from Ifan, the tight-faced Magister draws one finger across his throat in an elaborate fashion, but says nothing. Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny Big Pants. Long story. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the Joy. Away from interested parties. No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor, who's staring back at him with pointed intensity.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough. The Joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the ringmaster himself. Easy now. I might think the same, but Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
What are you conspiring about over there? You, Lizard, what's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee is me.
Name?
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible down in a tiny notebook. He scowls at you as he
away with you, at once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
I'm busy watching for clues, sorcerer.
Well, perhaps you're absolutely right.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up? Mad? Insufferable,
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, boy. You hear that?
Got this wolf on a leash now.
He turns his head toward you, looking you up and down, and smiles before turning his attention to the ship.
You look like a boy to me. Listen if you're interested, or get gone if you aren't.
His eyes snap open. He looks at you and frowns.
Murder? Ah, that's what they were going on and on about. I wouldn't know anything about it. I kill a man. He knows who done it. His daddy knows who done it. And the mayor knows who done it too.
His eyes flutter shut, and he assumes his position of repose once more.
Whether they catch me is another matter, but I ain't one to hide my accomplishments. The ship, of course.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you.
And?
Until overboiling a bit of cabbage becomes a crime, I shall hold my head steady.
Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums.
Never thought you'd end up.
But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that.
Your kind always hung closest to our
Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There. You heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, boy. Good news. It's the wheel. The wheel. Don't you see, you beautiful idiot? Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east.
I've nothing to hide.
Seems to me you should be a little...
Burn my beard. That means if we've been travelling for, yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy. No indeed, boy. But that ain't my final destination.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes roll over to you.
That'll be all. Thank you kindly, boy.
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
The Magisters are out for blood. You saw the body, didn't you? Big bruiser like you ought to be able to take him on.
Come on, please, Losa.
My prince!
The cook bows slightly and wipes her hands on her gruel-stained garb.
Forgive me, Your Highness. I didn't expect... well, anyway, whether I had more than cornmeal and rotting roots to serve, I'd concoct something more fitting for one of your stature.
Well, you've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hand you right over the side of the ship with it.
She nods and smiles wanly before...
One of them. I know it.
Yuck. You put a knuckle in it. I'm trying to concentrate.
They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't care, Roan. They're picking us off one by one.
Can we just skip to the part where I reassure
Boring.
you shut up?
You think me mad?
Mad? No. Insufferable? Surely.
What are you trying here anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long.
The elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He reaches out, flicks a finger at...
Fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
It is simultaneously too detailed and insufficient. I know the beginning of this tale and the end, but I am rather missing the middle. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history? Most unusual, and if it's not too rude to suggest, not much of an answer. No, I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they created all creatures, but nothing of what came before. Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind?
The elf's face freezes for just a second before he waves his hand.
Oh, it's just one of my idle curiosities. Now please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
No amount of pestering will get the elf to take his eyes off his...
Do you mind?
Here to register, sir. Good, good. Magister Williams is just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far? Trust me, with Bishop Alexander in charge, things will get a lot better from here on out. He's God-woken, you know. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Name?
Come on, please, Losa.
The Divine Order wants to know. Well, you aren't here on my list. Scram, eh? We're trying to catch a killer here.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you put a knuckle in it? I'm trying to concentrate.
Wow. Are you a dragon? You look like a dragon. But where are your wings?
One of us can kill our own.
Do you know Losa? She's a really good singer. I'm better though. Listen. La 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 la. You're really red. I bet that's why the Magisters took you. They took me because I'm magic.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
Ah, there you are. Husband. Would you please tell this very charming gaggle of not-at-all brat-like babes that I am by no accounts this Losa woman, nor do I sing, in fact. I'm deathly allergical. How very correct you are, spouse of mine. Madame Josephine Gribbles de Peeb refuses to be confused with anyone else. What? What's so funny?
Her pinched face cracks into a great grin, and she shoos the children away from her with a laugh.
Yeah, okay, you found me out. Go on and git, and maybe I'll sing you something when I'm good and ready.
She turns to you, dark-eyed and dirty-haired, and smiles flatly.
Gotta keep ourselves entertained, haven't we? You'd presume right. Nope. Trying not to find anything out either. Ignorance is bliss. The utterer, the better. thanks, but I already belong to an elite and exclusive ship gang. We play ball every day after lunch. You're too... You take care, though.
Suddenly, her eyes cloud to an unnatural black. Greyish veins run down her face, and her mouth tightens into a cruel sneer. As quickly as they came, the clouds clear. She smiles as though no change came over her.
Good luck, Chief.
This again?
You seem on edge, officer. What on earth is the matter? Murder most foul, and I strongly suspect you know all about it.
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella? Yes, I did. But of course that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end. Good God! The woman's mad! You there, sorcerer! Go and fetch Magister Siwan! We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet. It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts Source, the Voidwoken will come.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened?
dwarf lies in a heap on the floor, his great beard twisted and tangled around him. He is stock still. You can't see if he's living or dead. You hear a faint thud, thud, thud. The dwarf lies in... Ifan lies motionless. His eyes flicker open.
Lucien.
Ifan cries out. Then his eyes fall closed again.
No, not the final dark. Not yet.
Her hand lies limp in yours. She's too...
The dice roll darkly. They're rolling for me.
The young woman lies in a heap on the... She doesn't stir.
The hatch is blocked. I'll need to find another way.
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious.
A subpar cranium, that? Human, no wonder. Not long before this thing snaps into splinters. Damn! That doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards.
Thank the gods. By divine grace, who was that howling?
He eyes the collar circling your neck and reaches a hand towards his blade.
Another sorcerer! Like you don't know? Mutiny! Did that witch fix your collar too? Go on then. Find a place to hide and stay there.
Bishop Alexander, the smug little tyke that thinks he can imprison a prince. How comical.
And you thought Rivellon was flat.
You need to find a hiding place.
What will happen to us?
Damn it! Need to get off this wreck and quick!
The marking on the door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You recognize the symbol immediately for what it is. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm, but simply grey. The moment you touch the door, it doesn't budge. pass through the door and are suddenly face to face with an undead. His skull is bizarrely angular, and a glorious jewel sits in the middle of his forehead. The skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hubert's...
No! What damn fools record knowledge on a pulped tree? It catches fire, it turns into must when wet, it cannot even resist acid. No wonder they're so...
The skeleton looks up and notices you for the first time.
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such?
The skeleton groans and looks back to his book, frantically flipping.
Yes, indeed. It's the look of someone that wants to read the bloody book he's holding. Now, if you're really quite finished, I believe you have lifeboats to flee to. Please, I was no more an elf than you are those rags you're wearing. I had a mask, rather ingeniously designed, which allowed me to take that primitive form. A mask that was stolen by that damned witch after her little scene. Still, she'll drown with the rest of these fools, and I will simply pluck my mask from her cold, dead hands. Indeed. Just as sensible as getting off a sinking ship and leaving a fellow to... I would say good day, but it seems quite likely that you're about to die a rather terrible death, so...
The skeleton shrugs casually and returns to his... The moment you touch the door groans open.
My word! Something's breaking through! I need to get out of here, now!
The moment you touch the door groans open.
My word! Something's breaking through! I need to get out of here, now! Lifeboat! That means there's still a chance!
Shut your trap, kid. Children and dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes to no avail.
You said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Thank you! There's a ladder right over there. You can go straight...
You're gonna be the death of us, you hear? Had to open your big mouth, didn't you?
Never be sorry.
Walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a boat. Wait! Voidwoken!
I thought Voidwoken was supposed to be scary.
I've faced worse.
Let the games begin.
These beardless bugs would sink the ship on my watch.
Let's head above decks.
Please, my time is short, although yours.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Honorable Dallas, we lost a ship sailing sorcerer prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity, High Judge Orivan.